We're located in western South Dakota. We're out here in a 15-inch rainfall, and we have extreme summers and extreme winters. I'm a retired ag teacher of 25 years, and on my retirement now I get to ranch full-time and enjoy that and put in a lot of the practices that I was preaching. When you start ranching, the bigger question is, why are you ranching? You know, most of us are getting into it because it's tradition, it's part of our identity. That's what we want to be doing. And teaching school, I saw a lot of hardship on kids because of the paradigm of what we thought agriculture was. And we make people not appreciate agriculture, not want to follow it. So I find that to motivate and drive me to try to put together a ranching operation that will be sustainable both for me and my family, but also can be as a demonstration unit and provide an opportunity for the next generation to find an easier way and a better way to sustainably be in agricultural production. We had huge herds of buffalo and elk and antelope and deer that all followed together in a mob, as much for protection, but also in that migration. And they would come into an area, graze it completely, and move off and probably not return in that year's time or even longer. And because of that, the rangelands evolved and responded to that kind of grazing pressure. It doesn't matter where we're located in the United States or in the world. All we have to do is look at what did our native rangelands or ecosystems look like, and then mimic them. With that, then we are running about 600 head of sheep with about 100 head of cattle. And rotational grazing many times in a mob situation of sheep and cattle combined. As we look at our rangelands, there's 5 principles that we want to really consider and evaluate as we determine how we're managing them. So the first principle is, do we have residue or ground cover? Because our goal in nature is we never want a rain droplet ever to hit bare ground. If we can do that, we have very little runoff, we have very little soil disturbance. Every percent of organic matter holds 20,000 to 27,000 gallons of water per acre. Well, that's an inch of water, and you can get a couple percent, you're starting to hold water. You're holding water, well, you're holding soil. You're holding soil, you're holding biology, and you start tying those things together. And the biology comes back, and insects come back, and the birds come back. Another principle is to minimize disturbance. And so we want to graze this, but we don't want to disturb it to the point that we expose or scar the land. Another important thing about rangeland management is diversity. And we have to have that in a number of different ways. We need grasses, we need forbs, we need legumes, and even in these dense clay prairies, if we can have a few shrubs, that helps. They all play a role in supporting the whole and bringing up nutrients deep within the soil, holding the soil. The other thing is we want living roots and living plants functioning year-round in this soil. And then the last thing is to have livestock on the land. Our rangelands evolved with livestock on them, and to exclude them does harm to the rangeland. What goes through the animal goes back to the soil, takes that biology with it, and what the animal eats off the soil brings in biology that helps support the rumen. So those 5 principles, if we think about them in rangeland management, will put us in a situation that will give us a predictable, consistent production every year that takes out the peaks and valleys and doesn't put us into catastrophic chaos from a production point of view. We're working on less than a 2% return on investment, which is very shaky. And so these practices can kind of stabilize some of that. We've just got to manage some principles and then year in and year out, it's going to work pretty good. When I went to college, we had the idea that I can control nature and I can control all the variables, and you get humbled quickly in that kind of situation. And I did it. Everything I've learned, I've done it by doing it wrong, and then you turn the 180 and go the other direction. And so, and I'm just thankful that I've got to where I am now, but that we can reduce the use of and dependence on fossil fuels, use of fertilizers, use of chemicals. And it's all because we're just living within nature. And if you can put all those pieces together and manage it as a whole, then you'll have a better result.